Okay, so Saturday night here in Melbourne, I went to see Green Day at Marvel Stadium. I would say this is probably the best concert I've ever been to. It was absolutely incredible, and I just wanted to do a little review on what it felt like being there and my general thoughts and what this show meant to me. If you don't know me, I am Mike, maybe better known as Podcast Mike or Radio Mike. I spent most of my 20s working on some of the biggest radio shows and podcasts in Australia. Now I have a media business. I also have a YouTube channel, a blog, and a podcast and a bunch of other stuff that I do. This is my second channel, which is more like of a diary vlog, like kind of thought dump podcasty kind of channel. So if you want to stick around, definitely hit the subscribe button. So Green Day came down for their Saviors tour, the tour for their most recent album Saviors, but also as a kind of double anniversary tour, a 30-year anniversary for their incredible 1994 album Dookie, and the 20-year anniversary of probably their biggest album, American Idiot. I mean, it's probably debatable whether Dookie or American Idiot were bigger, but both of them have an anniversary in 2024, and Green Day is touring, and in Melbourne at least, and I think all of Australia, playing both albums in full from start to finish. And considering these are like my two favorite albums from Green Day, like this was just such a blessing, and they completely delivered on this. It was just such an incredible gig to be at. I have seen Green Day once before during their Revolution Radio tour. It might have been around 2016 or 2017, and I thought that show was fantastic back then, but this one just like blew every show I've seen completely out of the park. So they came out and played The American Dream Is Killing Me. That was the first track and the lead single from Saviors. That was epic. And then straight in to Dookie. And what I loved about it is just, how quickly they got into playing Dookie. You know, they started with Burnout as it does, and then just went straight through almost with like no gaps or not heaps of speaking breaks in between, which I really liked. Like, it just was a live performance of one of the best albums ever recorded. I mean, that album to me is so meaningful. Like, so much of the lyrical content of that album is, I guess, I don't know, just like so relatable to me. And I remember listening to it like in my late teens, early 20s, and just relating so hard to so many of the lyrics. And I think a lot of people who, like this album, like really relate to a lot of the things that Billy Joe is talking about in a lot of the songs, you know, boredom, heartbreak, feeling pathetic, like feeling like a loser, burning out, like all of these themes are so relevant. I think particularly to men, like in their late teens and early 20s. And, you know, I was born in 1994 when this album came out, but I only really started loving it in like 2010 through 2015, you know, after American Idiot came out, and I started exploring this band. But I just think it's so universally relatable and still so relevant in sound and concept all these years later. Hearing it straight through was amazing. And you know, the thing I've always thought about Green Day is like the synergy between them, particularly Billy Joe, Mike and Trey, but of course you've got like Jason Freese on there as well playing guitar. Like, they just, I don't know what it is, but they clearly are just in sync. And I think it like really speaks to this band has like been together with no real gaps or fallings out, at least publicly, in the entire time they've been together since the early 90s. You know, look at other bands like Blink-182, who are honestly probably my favorite band, and I loved their gigs last year. But you know, Mark, Tom, and Travis, particularly Mark and Tom, have obviously had their clashes over the years, but then you've got Billy Joe, Mike, and Trey, who just seem like they're so in sync and so synergetic on stage and off, and I think you really feel that during this gig. Huge highlight at the end of the album when Trey comes out and there's like an orchestral rendition of All By Myself, and he wears a dressing gown and sings that song. Such a quirky song, such a fun song, and I love Trey's energy during that. Then there's kind of like a little interlude before American Idiot where they play Know Your Enemy. They get a fan up on stage, which is really cool. I'm pretty sure they played One-Eyed Bastard, a new song, and Dilemma, another new song. 21 Guns, Minority, and Brain Stew, which was really cool, really, really fun, and then straight into American Idiot. And man, I don't know, like this, I mean, everybody knows this album. Everybody knows how just, I don't know, influential this album was. Like, I think of other bands like My Chemical Romance and I don't know, like even Sum 41 and a bunch of other groups who did similar conceptual albums around that time. All I think stemmed from American Idiot, which to me was a game-changing album. And hearing this live, I mean, I heard a bunch of these songs live before at the other gig, you know, American Idiot, Jesus Suburbia, Holiday Boulevard, Wake Me Up, like all of those songs are definitely mainstays of the set, but some of the songs that I had never heard live before, like Are We the Waiting, like Let a Bomb, Extraordinary Girl, like Homecoming in particular. Homecoming is possibly well, it's definitely in my top 5-10 Green Day songs of all time, and hearing Mike doing Nobody Likes You and screaming out the lyrics to Nobody Likes You in a stadium full of people singing the same words, and, you know, Rock and Roll Girlfriend as well. Honestly, it was incredible. I've watched so many YouTube videos of Green Day playing Homecoming live over the years, being like, damn, I'll never get to hear this song live, and then being in the midst of it was just amazing. One thing I did notice that I should say, and maybe this is why bands don't necessarily like performing full albums, is like, you look at like the first 4 tracks of American Idiot. You've got the title track, Jesus of Suburbia, Holiday, and Boulevard, right? That's a four in a row stack of just massive songs with like global popularity and huge success. And then track 5 is Are We the Waiting? And I gotta say, I did notice that when they started Are We the Waiting, which I guess is definitely not one of the most well-known Green Day songs, a lot of people just kind of sat down, and like, it was the first time I noticed a noticeable lull in what was happening in the arena. But that kind of picked back up towards the end. You know, Wake Me Up was a really nice moment. And then they come out after playing What's Her Name, which was great. They come out and do Bobby Socks, a new song from Saviors, which I gotta say, like, I enjoy the song on the album, but the live version of it was incredible. Like, the energy was amazing, and it feels like a pop banger. And those oohs in the chorus, like, oh, it felt so good to be in the midst of it. And then in what is sort of conventional for Green Day, they finish with Time of Your Life, which is generally just Billy playing it by himself on stage acoustically, which is what it is, I guess. And then Trey and Mike kind of come in towards the end and they say goodbye to the crowd. It was a fantastic night. Like, it was interesting because I wasn't even going to get tickets originally, which is weird because I am an enormous Green Day fan. Like, I love them. I did think Saviors, like, at first I didn't think Saviors was great, but the more I kind of have thought about it, I actually quite like it now in retrospect. A lot of it's really grown on me. I think because it came out around the same time as Blink-182's One More Time, which, to be honest, like, that's probably one of my favorite albums ever. I think I kind of shadowed Saviors a little bit because of that, but hearing these new songs live and hearing 2 of my favorite albums of all time, like, what a gift and what an incredible show from Green Day. Like, they really do put on an incredible live performance, and Billy Joe, just like, you know, there were mentions of Elon Musk and Trump and Meta and the MAGA agenda, and I loved that. You know, he just commands a room. You know, it's just incredible. One more thing that I just wanted to talk about, and I did this after I filmed it, so I'm just putting some images here, but I was seated next to like a dad with his like 10-year-old son, and that kid knew the words to literally every song and was singing along and just like looked like he was having the time of his life, no pun intended, but just like seeing the passion and the love of this band between a father and a son singing all the words together. Like, I honestly like kept watching them because I was like, this is such a beautiful thing to experience together, and clearly this is like their shared band that they love together, and what an amazing thing they get to do together. I thought that was incredible, and it just shows how like bands like this can like bring families together. It's awesome. I also want to shout out AFI. Sadly, I didn't make the first opening act private function, but I did catch AFI, who I really like. They were fantastic as well, but oh boy, definitely probably my favorite concert experience of all time. If you were there, I'd love for you to comment, let me know. This is my second channel. I just do random videos that I want to talk about on this channel. My other channel, my main channel, is like a pop culture kind of news and discussion channel. So check that out too. I'm all over the internet doing stuff, so check it out in the links below. But yeah, that's pretty much it from me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in another video.